Hi, Jennifer.
Janine, how are you? Happy New Year.
Good. I'm good. How are you?
Just trying to get through these first couple weeks of January.
Right.
I do accounting professionally, so it's like everybody was crazy, from Thanksgiving till the end of the year, and then now everybody's ready to do their taxes.
Yeah. So this is your busy time of the year for sure.
Got a few months.
Yeah.
I see you've got quite a few staffing changes.
Unbelievable.
How are you handling that? Is it going okay?
I don't know, actually. I'm filling about 20% of our positions.
I guess Cobb County is not immune to the Great Resignation, huh?
Right. Exactly.
Are you
Yep.
getting applicants coming in, or is it slow go?
For most positions, yes, but we can only interview and do the process for, one or two open positions at a time.
Right.
And then you fill those and move to the next two or three, but we have so many open positions that it's just crazy.
I know. I mean, it's insane. It's like I don't know. I wish I could apply. I like that election work.
Who needs being an accountant? Come on.
Oh, I know. I should make my, sort of side gig the full-time job.
There you go.
But I mean,
Hi, Pat.
it seems
Oh,
like
I
it's
was going to say
everywhere.
Pat Gartland's got on. So hello, Pat.
Oh, hey.
What was that? I'm sorry, Jennifer.
No, it's crazy how many people are switching jobs and changing, and just it seems like it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be alone in there today, or is anybody joining you?
I don't know. I think Greg will be coming here, but I'm not sure if any board members are coming.
This works good. I like it. I'm good.
I know, right?
As long as my dog decides not to make any appearances, the dog or the teenager. I sent a message out. I was like, okay, everyone, door is closed.
I don't think that would stop my dog. My dog would end up scratching at the door.
Oh, yeah. I had to put a little gate down at the bottom of the steps.
Oh, okay.
I was like, otherwise she'll just be like, closed door. I'd like to come in. And then I
Hey,
won't
Janine,
bark.
can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. I'll be here instead of Tara today.
Oh, hi, David. I recognize your voice.
Yeah, sorry. I should have said it was me.
That's okay. Hi, Tori. I see you too.
Hey there, sorry. I was trying to get off mute. Always a good idea to attempt to join early.
Definitely agree with that.
Just so I understand timing and what have you, I know on platforms such as Zoom, we're here by ourselves and then we kind of broadcast live when we're ready. My recollection is that's what we did the last time, that we allowed for comment via Zoom. Is that right?
David, did you hear the question?
I did. Yes, that's correct. There's 3 people signed up to comment. You're exactly right.
Okay. But no, I'm trying to understand over what period of time will it just be those of us that are here now versus the public viewing? I mean, do we at some point go live or no?
We are live now. We went live about 3 minutes ago.
Okay.
The meeting hasn't started, but we're live. Just
Okay.
streaming.
Okay. We can talk offline whether if we continue these, whether there's an opportunity for us to not immediately go live, like go live at the appointed time. And I don't know enough about WebEx to know as to whether
Usually we
that's the
go
case.
live. Usually we go live 10 minutes before the meeting, just streaming.
Understood, and that's why I was saying we could talk as to whether that's appropriate, because when we're in a setting where it's just where we're in person, we do have the opportunity to confer before we call the meeting to order. So,
Yes.
Don't know. I thought the other two were coming.
I thought I saw Jessica join for a moment. I will text Steve to be certain he's joining us.
There she is. Should still.
I'm sorry, the gentleman that was helping us, his name is David, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
David, did you have a registration for Steve Bruning? I just want to be certain.
Yes, there's 3 people registered to talk. I have the list of names.
No, Steve Bruning is would have registered early as a panelist.
No, I don't have him. And I don't see him connected.
Okay.
If I see
Thank you.
him pop up as connecting, I'll let you know.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Okay.
He's a member of the
And if
board.
he's-
So he's
okay.
not,
No, I haven't
yeah,
seen
that's what
him
I'm
as a
saying. I'm
member
trying to draw a distinction, but no, I'm trying to draw a distinction between the 3 individuals that you know will be joining, and then there's myself, Jennifer, Jessica, and Pat that are members of the board, and we have joined
okay.
as panelists. And so I believe we had to pre-register so that we would be able to speak. And so that's why I'm trying to understand whether you have him registered as a panelist.
I do not have him registered as a panelist.
Okay, so he didn't pre-register.
Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Hi,
Okay.
Matt. Yes, we can hear you. Happy New Year to you.
Hey, Happy New Year's to y'all.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Well, I want to be respectful of everyone's time, including anyone that has joined us online for the January 2022 meeting of the Cobb County Board of Elections. And so we will go ahead and call the meeting to order at 3:03 p.m. With that, welcome those of you that might be attending or viewing us virtually. Obviously, we have determined to meet virtually this month, aligned with the procedures and processes of the Board of Commissioners for Cobb County. And at this point, again, the meeting having been called to order, we will open up the meeting for public comment, the first item on the agenda.
Debbie, you are unmuted.
Good.
Ms. Fisher, Debbie Fisher.
Speaking.
Debbie Fisher.
Yes. Can you not hear me?
We can hear you, yes. Go right ahead, please.
Okay. Happy New Year to everyone. And I don't have a lot to say today, but I do have a couple of questions that I more than likely would like a follow-up on after Janine gives her presentation on the redistricting. But one thing I would like to say, and I'm sure everyone is well aware of, the controversy over the Dropboxes that are actually going to be allowed for the election. Are we sticking strictly to Dropboxes inside county facilities at advanced voting locations?
I believe it would be most appropriate, as you referenced, Ms. Fisher, to defer a response to Ms. Eveler's report. And then, as you noted, we're happy to follow up with you.
Okay. Well, I'm just curious about that because I think it's real important to get that information. The other thing I would like to say is that I believe Cobb Republican Party will be presenting a list of at least the 25 people that we're entitled to present to help with poll watching. So we are working on that as we speak. And other than that, I don't really have a whole lot to say.
Well, thank you, Ms. Fisher, for joining us. And then to the extent that there's additional follow-up with regard to your initial inquiry, we're happy to follow up. And again, to the extent it's necessary following Ms. Eveler's presentation, we're happy to follow up with you via email.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lisa Campbell, you are unmuted.
Good afternoon, board members, and Happy New Year. Just double
Good
check.
afternoon, Ms. Campbell. Thank you for joining us. And Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you. I'm a resident and a homeowner, a business owner, a taxpayer, and an active voter here in Cobb County, Georgia. And I have recently announced my campaign to run for the Georgia House District 35. And I've been participating in your virtual meetings during the last several years. And today, once again, I want to address the importance of protecting and expanding fair and equitable voting opportunities for all Georgians. And I too would like to start with Dropboxes. I've heard some of you state that we all have a mailbox that we can use for ballot returns. And yes, this is one of our options for returning ballots. But a secure Dropbox is another viable way that we have successfully expanded voters' rights. As our recent voter activity records indicate, ballot drop boxes are a critical part of expanding voter accessibility. And as we all know, they offer a secure and convenient option for voters to cast their ballots. They enable eligible voters who would otherwise not be able to vote in person to do so with safety and convenience. And importantly, they allow individuals with disabilities, seniors, parents, small children, and shift workers, or as in our current pandemic situation, they allow individuals who are immunocompromised to exercise their right to cast ballots in a safe and secure way. And we saw record-setting election turnout results in 2020, indicating again that Cobb County voters overwhelmingly like and use ballot drop boxes. And as a county, we invested heavily in secure drop boxes, and your team worked diligently to place the boxes in safe and accessible spaces. And these have been positive ways you have fulfilled your role as election board members and staff. And today I'm requesting that Cobb County election board members continue to protect our rights by rejecting voter suppression and calls for drop boxes to be moved or completely or moved exclusively inside election offices. And these restrictions are discriminatory and a clear reduction in our rights to accessible voting options. And I believe we cannot simply stay silent as our access at the state level to voting opportunities are diminished, and the spread of this disinformation and resulting actions to restrict and decrease our voting access must be rejected. I'm asking that instead you focus on a better way for Cobb County, protecting and expanding our existing drop boxes with camera surveillance that were used in 2020. I also ask that you continue your courageous efforts to fulfill your mission as stated on your website to ensure that elections are free, impartial, fair, accurate, convenient, and accessible, and that you use this time of heightened attention to rally for greater Dropbox protections and the expansion of our rights. I also wanted to voice my opposition to the new recent state proposal that seeks to prohibit email or digital submission of absentee ballot requests. Again, this puts another unnecessary barrier in place to those who do not have things like printers. And finally, I wanted to address the recent audit that was conducted during the last election. And this audit was conducted at taxpayer expense and was not needed, and instead had the potential to further fan the flames of distrust. I agree with President Jimmy Carter's recent statement where he said that phony claims of illegal voting and pointless multiple audits only detract from our democratic ideals. And I understand that you must, and we support the adherence to the laws of our state, but I also believe you have a duty to your local friends, neighbors, and businesses to speak up loudly at the state level to voice our concerns about the recent push to diminish our voting options and our potent right to vote. I appreciate and I thank you for the example that you're all setting by holding these monthly meetings, allowing ample opportunity for us to comment and hold civil conversations with each other, to stand up together, united in our mission against the forces who may be seeking to divide us. I believe that we can, and we can be the county that listens to each other. We don't have to follow the lead of others in our state. We can be continuing the county that comes together, that takes action to eliminate barriers and ease fears and welcome all to participate in our shared democracy. And I encourage you to push for voting rights and reforms that continue to ensure public confidence in the accuracy of our results. We can resist the polarization that is spreading throughout our state and our nation, and we can instead focus on our shared values that we're all deserving of equal access to voting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. David, has Miss Valerie Patterson joined us?
Valerie has not joined us. She was the last one.
Okay.
But she has not joined us.
Okay. We will go ahead and move on. And I do note that, and apologize, I was texting with Steve, Mr. Bruning, our fellow board member. It looks like he was trying to log on, but does not have a password. So I'm not entirely certain that he registered.
I made him a panelist.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That looks like a different person.
Yes.
Oh, it is.
can you unmute him, please?
Yeah.
Stephen Gray.
Yes.
Mr. Gray, Stephen Gray.
Sorry. Mute. There you go.
Okay. Am I unmuted?
Yes, sir, you're
Yeah.
unmuted. I just wanted to confirm that which Stephen this was, that you weren't a Mr. Stephen Bruning, who is a member of the board.
No, my name is Stephen Gray.
Okay, apologies. We will place you back in listen only mode, sir.
Okay.
David,
I
if
was hoping, will I be able to make a comment later on?
well, comments, you are required to register to participate in public comment, and the deadline for that registration was today at noon.
I registered.
I don't have you.
I got.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, I registered and I had the approval in the email.
Okay.
I don't
I
know.
don't have it on my list.
I don't know where. Oh.
Tori, I did.
Yes.
I have an email in my inbox from Valerie who says she's having the same password issue, but she is signed up on our list. And so I don't know if anybody sees her who's ever administering the event.
I do not see Valerie.
Excuse
Is
me.
there a person
Okay.
we should tell her and Steve to contact so that they can get in?
Yeah, well, hold on one second. I've gotten a message from Steve, and thank you everyone for helping us or being comfortable with us kind of managing through some audio text issues. So first, David, there should be a Steve Bruning. He's saying that he's on but has no audio. So if you'll look for a Steve or a Stephen Bruning, B-R-U-N-I-N-G, and promote him to serve as a panelist, as he's a member of the board.
I don't see him. I don't
He
see
was
him.
on with SB.
Pardon me, Pat?
He was on, I thought, because I saw SB, meaning Steve Bruning, I thought.
Okay.
I don't see him.
Okay. He's saying he's on, he just doesn't have audio.
I have a drop down, but there, I see him now. There,
Okay,
he just
excellent.
came in. Okay, I just made him a panelist.
And then I apologize, Jen, you were speaking with regard to Miss Valerie Patterson. I don't see her listed online.
Yes, I just noticed I had an email from her. She must have just tried to log in and she says, it says I need a password to get in. I don't have one. So I don't know how else to reach her. I just sent her back an email.
Regretfully, I don't see, I thought I actually saw her name on here. She actually is here. She's on the attendee list, so she's already on. It looks like she's probably connected via cell phone. David, if you'll scroll to the bottom of the attendee list.
Yes.
And if you'll
I see her now.
Ms.
Yeah.
Patterson. Thank you.
Hello,
Valerie,
how are
you are
you? I'm
Doing well, Ms.
sorry.
Patterson.
Hi, my name is Valerie Patterson, and I'm a Cobb County poll worker. And I have been working for a while, and I would just like to express my thoughts on Sunday voting. I think that 6 days is enough to have the elections. it's tiring on the poll workers as a whole. I've been working with these people for a long, long time, and we are very dedicated to the cause. However, 6 days, I think, is enough for us as poll workers to give up our time and service to. So I did take a roster of people who was against Sundays working, and I can email that to Jennifer at a later date. I did have time to talk to her throughout the elections, and a lot goes into early voting, 12-hour days, and we don't have enough poll workers as is. So I think if we just combine a lot of the locations so that we can have ample workers, because with the COVID, it made a lot of people have to stay at home, that we really depended on the older workers that we had throughout the years. And we are committed to the county, but we need the county to be committed to us too, and think of the taxing that is putting on our bodies and everything. So with this upcoming election, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm against Sunday. And you have some dedicated workers up at the county. They're permanent part-time workers. We don't get paid enough, and I think the minimum wage should go up for us, because you do have dedicated people. And locations, we need bigger locations so that we can spread out. I'm fortunate enough to work at the epicenter, and it has room for everything, parking, for the people to come in. And as you can see in 2020, rain, sleet, sun, or snow, those people came out and they were willing to stand in the rain. And so they are coming out, and they're going to continue to come out throughout these elections and everything. So we need better locations, and that's big enough that can handle the crowd. And, pretty much, we just need the support to back us up when we are doing these elections.
Thank you, Ms. Patterson, for your comment. Have you concluded your comment? I just want to be certain. I don't want to move away from you if you're not finished.
It's so long to get on here, but yes, but my main concern was Sunday voting. And people come out to do everything that they want to do, so they will come out those 6 days, So I think y'all need to give us a break as the workers. So that was just my main concern. And I am finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patterson, for joining us and for sharing your concerns. Before we move along in the agenda, I just want to confirm, and Ms. Reed, I sent you an inquiry, a message. I want to confirm whether Stephen Gray registered to participate in public comment. I don't want to move away from this. If Mr. Gray did register, he's indicating that he received an email confirmation, I believe, that he had registered to participate in public comment.
She texted me that he registered for the meeting, but not to speak.
I see. Okay. Thank you for providing that clarification.
We also have someone, Tori, in the Q&A, it says from Monica Delancey, I signed up for public comment. Will I be able to speak? Is that the same situation, Janine?
Don't have any information on that.
Okay.
I can check.
In the Q&A.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm monitoring the chat and not the Q&A. I appreciate you monitoring the Q&A.
I'm trying to scroll between both places.
Between the two, got it.
But I do see that there's a Monica Delancey at 3:15 who said she signed up for public comment.
I see that now.
Her response is Monica did not sign up to speak. It may be that people are missing the checkbox that says they want to speak. I don't know.
I respectfully, I'm inclined unless there is disagreement. As you know, Mr. Gray and Ms. Delancey were under the impression that by registering, that they had signed up to speak. And so unless there is significant aversion to allowing them to speak, I believe it's appropriate to allow them to speak.
I agree.
Okay.
Sorry,
David,
this is Steve Burning. Can you hear me?
yes. Hey there, Steve. Good to see you and good to hear you.
Good to hear you, everybody. I will attest to the complication of getting online. So I would support allowing those two other folks to speak their minds.
Sounds good. David, if you will unmute, if he's not already unmuted, Mr. Stephen Gray, please.
I sure will.
And I've noted in the chat, but for those that might be following in the Q&A, just a gentle reminder that all speakers during public comment have 5 minutes to make their statements.
Stephen, you are unmuted.
Oh, thank you. My name is Stephen Gray. I am a resident of Cobb County Precinct OR5. I am also a certified information system security professional. I have been personally evaluating the election procedures, and I have found that there are very few, if any, vulnerabilities visible in the system. I have voted twice using the so far, and I just say that the only suggestion that I have for increasing the perception of the security in the system would be to vote, or rather to count the votes as soon as they come in, rather than waiting and people getting the perception that things are changing over on election day from what they expect. Rather than go through all that, the votes should be counted, and then the results of the count should be released on election day, or as soon as they can. This would, I think, increase the perception of the security of the system, and maybe make it easier for the election officials. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gray. Next up, David, if you will unmute Miss Monica Delancey, please.
Okay.
Hello, Happy New Year.
Monica,
Happy New Year.
Good afternoon, Miss Delancey. Happy New Year to you. And we can all hear you well, so go right ahead, please.
But thank you for allowing for me to speak. I thought I checked off the box to speak. I look at that very well. Maybe I probably skipped over it, but thank you for the opportunity. I just want to reiterate that I do know that some of the areas in Cobb County are going to be redistricted into new district seats or areas, and just want to make sure that that notification gets sent out to the residents so they're aware that they are in different districts. So therefore, when they are deciding on who they're going to vote for certain seats, they know which area they reside. They are in the new voting area, pretty much. Also, I want to just remind you that this weekend is a very special weekend. Um, I know that Monday, January 17th is Dr. Martin Luther King Day. It's not a day off, it's a day on. but a number of communities are now recognizing the whole entire weekend as a weekend of events that can take place in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. And I just want to say that We Thrive and Riverside Renters Association will host a number of activities starting on Friday of January the 14th uh, to Monday, January 17th, as we support the countywide event that the NAACP sponsors. But on Saturday, We Thrive Riverside Rental Association will host a health and wellness expo that morning. We'll host a life after high school planning workshop that afternoon, a community cleanup, as well as family game night. And then on Sunday, we will have two workshops on how to navigate rental assistance for people who need rental assistance. The eviction courts are open back up, and I'm hearing from a number of people that they are reaching out for rental assistance and they cannot get appointment, or they're being told that because they received assistance one time before, they're not going to get assistance again until after they service other applicants. So Cobb County Master Court before COVID was wall to wall with evictions, especially women of color. Okay. And so now that the eviction courts are open back up, and people cannot make their payments, they will be on those dockets to be evicted during the wintertime. And as we can see, COVID is back surging. So again, let's pray for our communities. Let's recognize that we have some great opportunities to make it a day on, not a day off for Dr. Martin Luther King Day. And I want to remind everybody to stay healthy and stay thriving. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Delancey. I believe with those two last speakers, that concludes our public comment period. We will continue with the items as noted on our agenda. Members of the board, have you all had an opportunity to review the meeting minutes of our December 6th meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I will, unless there's any comment or suggested revisions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Bruning. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Mossbacher. It's been moved and properly seconded to approve our December 6th meeting minutes. All of those in favor, you'll do so by raising your hand. Thank you. It's unanimous. Our meeting minutes from our December 6th meeting are approved. Moving on to the next item of our agenda, we'll turn the floor over to our Director of Elections, Ms. Janine Evler.
Yes, thank you very much. There were three main topics that were suggested by Mr. Bruning for me to report out on. I do have a couple of others to add. I'm sorry they weren't listed on the agenda. But first, I'd like to address the public comment about Dropboxes. And just to remind everybody that the Dropbox law is the same today as it was last year, in that we are required to have one Dropbox inside our main office, and it is open only during advanced voting. And any other Dropboxes up to the maximum for Cobb County, which would be 5 additional boxes, is discretionary for the board to determine if they want those additional boxes out. But if they do deploy those boxes, they must be inside advanced voting locations. And all drop boxes are open only while voting is taking place. So regardless of what people's desire is to expand drop boxes, that's really not up to this board or the county. That would be up to the state legislature to make an expansion of their offering. But the board will direct me as to whether we would like to continue the practice we had last year to deploy the additional 5 discretionary boxes in advanced voting locations. Okay. Regarding the redistricting planning, we do not yet have our Cobb County maps from the reapportionment office. There are maps that are available on their website that are statewide maps and has statewide data. So our GIS analyst is using that at this point to kind of fine tune the way that the maps will look to our registrars. And our registrars are reviewing the maps that she's developing to see how they want, what information they want on the maps to make it as easy as possible as they compare to the existing districts with the new districts. So we're kind of doing some assessment right now. We don't yet, as I said, have the data from reapportionment. According to the Secretary of State's office, they should be giving each county county-specific data that they can then use and maps that they can use for their process. Now, our registrars will look at those maps and compare them to the existing maps and determine which street segments need to change their district combination and do that in the system. The system is like a one and done kind of thing. You have to determine all your street segments that need to be changed in a big spreadsheet and then go in and make all the changes, because the way it works is it's a 3-night, 4-day operation. It's an overnight process, and then you check the fallout from that and then do another 2 nights of revisions. And it's built like that. It's an old system and it's built to do it that way. So while we're in redistricting, we can't do any other changes to voter registration. Therefore, you want to wait until you have all of your information to make a change all at once. We don't yet have any maps for the local districts. I understand that the legislative delegation has some maps that they are considering for the session that's in place starting today. And one of the members at least told me that they believe they're close and they will be able to provide us maps hopefully soon. They do have to be voted on and then approved by the governor. We have been given a deadline of February 18th to complete all of these updates. So just over a month, about 5 weeks. It's going to be a challenge. I'll pause there to see if any board members have any questions.
Janine, how can they set an end date, but they don't have the data to us yet?
Exactly.
I mean, that's truly ridiculous.
Yes.
February 18th,
well,
and we don't have the data?
Right. I have reached out to the reapportionment office to see if I can get a timeline of when they are anticipating that coming out. I think it's a matter of they're working through each county, and I would hope that they would do the metro counties first because there's more for us to do, but there's probably more for them to do. So they may be working on some smaller counties first. But the February 18th date was given by the Secretary of State, and that is because qualifying starts on March 7th. And so I think they gave us the February date to, build in some flex for those that don't quite make the date, any issues that come up, and so that those can all be resolved by the March 7th date when everybody needs to be in their correct districts so that they can qualify for the correct offices. As you'll recall, we tried to get everything extended with a resolution from our organization, the election officials organization, because of this, because we knew it was going to be just such a tight time frame. But I haven't heard anything about that being a positive move with the legislature. Okay, so unless there are other questions. I'm gonna move past early voting locations, early voting locations, because I have something to put up on my screen. So I'll go through the other ones first before we go to there. As far as the Mansour Center, Conference Center, and the renovations for the new election building, they are on track. There were some delays due to the supply chain issues for construction equipment. But the schedule now is to have about one whole portion turned over to us between mid and late March. And that portion would be the prep center for the equipment and the absentee voting area, and absentee mail. So our plan is to have our prep center move over there, at least the part that is the voting equipment. It's possible that some of our folks that do more of the forms and supplies for the poll workers might stay over there a little bit longer. But we have to start testing for the May primary on April 4th. So what we'll do is move equipment over as it's being tested, and then it'll be staged on the racks for deployment. So it'll be sort of a move and test, move and test, move and test, and then deliver from that location. And then the next group, like I said, or the next area that will be available is the absentee mail and part of the absentee voting area. However, by March, end of March, they will already be issuing ballots. No, I'm sorry, they're not going to be issuing ballots, but they'll be, they'll be issuing the UOCAVA, overseas and military ballots, and they'll be accepting applications. So it's going to be tricky to move everybody while they're in the middle of the process. So I'm not sure at what point will be the right place to move those folks. So we're going to kind of play that by ear and see how easy it will be to move people. And then the whole thing is supposed to be turned over to us in June. Well, June 21st is a runoff probably. So we'll probably looking at July to make a final move. Questions on that?
So you will be conducting the primary from Whitlock, from the current location, and then conducting the general election from Mansour?
That's the plan, yes.
But of course, I think it's likely there will be a primary runoff.
Right.
So that would be late June?
It's June 21st, I believe.
June 21st. So
right.
Going to have a hot July.
Yes, sir. There's no perfect time other than last year
Right.
that we could have moved. So given the extent of the renovations and the issues with, supplies and that sort of thing, it's coming ready in a time when it's going to be difficult for us to do like a complete move. We're going to be doing it in stages. As parts of it get ready, we'll move employees over there and set up, different work groups that can move, that aren't in the middle of something.
Is there a time frame that you have to be moved out of Whitlock then?
There is not.
Okay.
There's not a time frame for that or for moving out of the Kennesaw Prep Center. There are other groups in the county that are slated to go into those, but they don't have a schedule for their move into those areas. So, we can take our time to an extent. Of course, we all want to be over there and be settled. Having to deal with a move while you're conducting elections is not ideal.
But Janine, when will be the absentee ballot mailing for the general election?
If I'm remembering the law, it's 29 days prior to the election for most voters. It's still going to be 45 days for UOCAVA voters.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you. Anything else on that one? Yes.
Janine, I've had a question all along that, and I guess a concern. So could you let us know what plans are for parking? Because at West Park, we have more than adequate parking in that huge parking lot. But I'm wondering about the Mansour Center.
Yes, they are going to do some restriping to make a lot of the spaces are too large. They don't need to be as large as they are. So they're going to bring them down to more of a standard. And then we're going to, we've gotten approval, verbal approval. Our attorney was supposed to be working on, not Greg, our county attorney was working on getting an actual document from the parking lot across the street, the Office Depot, I believe it is. I'm going to check with them and see if they've gotten any further on that. But that area is supposed to allow us, they've said they'll allow people to park in there. It's a large shopping center across the street. So that's really where our main parking is.
That's actually behind the Mansour Center. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, but we'll still have the ADA parking in the front, which won't change as far as reducing the size of those. They will stay large as they are, but the other parking spaces in the immediate vicinity of the center they're gonna try and make as many spaces as they can out of those.
Okay, because I had wondered about that because we have functions that are mandated to be at our headquarters.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I wasn't aware of what the parking would be.
Right. Some other things that we've considered also is doing a shuttle service from the Civic Center parking, which is not too far away as well, or the Roswell Street Baptist Church is right up there. So, we could have a daily round and round shuttle as well during the voting periods.
And Janine, to Jessica's point, when you say across the street, it's actually behind, such that there's not a need to traverse the relatively busy street that is in front of the center, correct?
It's a smaller street behind.
Okay.
Gosh, I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry, but
No worries.
there's not a crosswalk there though. So during voting, we would probably get our deputy to be out there to make sure that, that's a safe crossing.
Okay, that's actually where I was going, because when you said across the street, I was thinking, and the main street is, the name of that is escaping me, I should know it. But that would present more of a challenge if voters had to cross that street versus the smaller street behind, so, okay.
Yes.
And I have used that smaller street as a cut through, and I know many people do use that. It's not as well, it's not as busy on a daily basis, but yes, I'm glad to know that we've considered the safety issues.
Mm-hmm. Greg just noted that it's Gresham Road? Avenue, Gresham.
Turns into Gresham Road, when it crosses 41.
Once it crosses 41, at the traffic, yes, at the traffic light.
It's Gresham Road, but before that it's Gresham Avenue.
Right.
Well, thank you.
And then also a couple of other things that are not on here. Just to let you all know that the state has done their NCOA, which is the National Change of Address program, where they have compared the Georgia voter list to the National Change of Address Post Office, the U.S. Postal Service list of those people who have submitted a change of address form. And so in Cobb, we had 31,449 records that were identified to be on the National Change of Address. And of course, that hasn't been run for, I think, two sessions, so that's 4 years. And so it was a little bit larger than normal. But the 31,449 confirmation notices were sent out to those voters to their registered address. And I don't have the number yet that has been returned as undeliverable, but there were 10 mail trays that came back, and the mail trays are about this long. So all those forms, and I'll be getting you that number as soon as my staff gets through them all to count them. So those would be the ones that just came back as completely, the voter's not there, it came back as undeliverable. But then the voters that do receive their notice, and they really are still here in Georgia, they have the opportunity to return their confirmation notice saying that they are still to remain registered. And then after 40 days, if we have not noted that that record that that person has completed a confirmation notice and returned it, then everybody that has not yet responded would be removed from the voter list. They'll be marked as NCOA delete. Or it might go inactive. I think there was a court case on that. I think it goes inactive instead of delete. It used to be delete.
Janine, is all of that information on those voters public record?
As far as like a list somewhere?
Yes.
Or I know they did a list for the no contact when the state was running that a year ago or so. They had published a list, but I don't know that they've published this as a list anywhere.
Okay, I believe that's probably my question. Yeah, that's probably the answer to my question.
I haven't heard that they have published that. I know they wanted on the other one, the no contact, they wanted people to see that ahead of time, maybe notify their county, or if they notice somebody on there that shouldn't be. But in this case, they did, as far as I know, they did not publish that. So, we'll be working on any that are returned. We'll immediately process those before the deadline so that those people are not removed. But everybody that does not respond will be removed from the active list.
And what is the date? Could you tell us what the actual date is of the deadline?
I don't have that right off, but I can tell you how it's figured out. The mail out date was January 4th, and there's a 40-day clock is what we call it. So whatever 40 days from that is, that's the deadline.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then relating to the public speaker who talked about the poll worker pay and issues that she had, we do an increase on poll worker pay and early voting workers pay on a scheduled basis. And so we will be raising the early voting workers pay by 3%, which is the same thing that the county offers to regular employees, starting with this year. And, each category of worker gets a pay raise on a certain schedule that we in the election department have developed, because we have control over that as far as our budget. And that's not something that we have to go through county, to get approval to do that. And also we sent out a survey to our poll workers to get some of their opinions about training and the communication that they're getting from us. And I just, before I got into this meeting, received the results of that. So I didn't have anything to prepare for this meeting, and it's somewhat detailed. So I'm thinking I'm going to send that to you through an email. And then if you want to discuss any of the items on there in a meeting, we can do that.
Thank you, Janine.
Okay, I'm going to go over to the computer and bring up something from my screen. David, can you make it so that I can share my screen? David, are you there?
I bet.
Oh, well. It would have been easier to share it. Okay, well, I'll have to talk you through it and send it through email then. Sorry about that.
And
Okay.
this is what that you're about to speak to?
This would be regarding the early voting locations,
Got
which
it.
is the third item that Steve requested talking about. Unfortunately, I didn't know that we were going to go virtual until somewhat the last minute. I should have sent this to you, but it's a work in progress. As you first start off, as you know, we're going through a transition with our staffing. We've lost quite a few people, and so we're hiring new, and it'll take me a while to get them up to speed. And so before our absentee advanced voting supervisor left to work with the Secretary of State's office, she did email out to all of most of our usual early voting locations, the schedule of when we would like to use their facility this year. And so I've been just tracking who's responded to those initial emails. I will have a staff worker, take over that task. It's not something I want to keep, believe me. But generally speaking, we've got a lot of places that are okay. They have availability. In the May 24th primary, I have a total of 7 so far that have committed to having us there. One additional one has one conflict, which is a rental that they need to see if they can move that rental to another facility. And then that would make 8. And then I have 2 more that have not yet responded or I have a meeting scheduled with. So it could be as many as 10 at that point. And I'll send you the more detailed list that has the locations. I'm just talking numbers at this point. Okay. So all of those places were asked for 3 weeks for that. Okay, and then June 21st, which is the primary runoff. Again, that one is going to be abbreviated, just like all of our runoffs now, because they are only allowing 28 days between the initial election and the runoff. So we are asking to reserve 2 weeks of time with the facilities, including one Saturday. And so we've got 6 locations that have responded that they can commit to those 2 weeks. And I'm still waiting again for 2 to give me a response. So it could be as much as 8. Okay, and then November 8th, we have currently 9 locations that have committed to 3 weeks. I'm sorry, 8 have committed to 3 weeks. 1 has committed to 1 week. And there's a conflict. No, there's 3 others that I'm waiting to hear from. So that could be as much as 12 for November. And then December, we've got 8 and I'm waiting for 3. So that could be as much as 11. Okay. And, we're at the very early stages of that. We're obviously not at the point where we're going to bring you a schedule or a flyer or anything like that. We're just trying to get on their calendar. What questions do you have?
I was just curious. I have 2 questions. One is, are we looking at doing any kind of like large site, like looking at maybe doing the Civic Center or stadium or any kind of big voting center? And my second question is the library program. Are we going to be able to continue with that or expand that?
Yeah, regarding a large space, we did ask the Civic Center. They are not available for any of these elections except for the 1 week in the November timeframe. I am looking at, and I've asked for Jim Miller Event Center for November and December, and I have not yet heard back if there's a conflict on that location. As far as like the ballpark or something like that we've talked about, I think what we saw last year has brought that just does not work in the November election timeframe, because October is the time for early voting, and October is also the playoffs and all of the things that are happening in baseball. And it just became too close to make any plans. By the time it was certain one way or the other whether the team was going to make the playoffs, it was already too late to make plans to open that location. Then the other question you had was the library program. We did get a good response from that library drop-off of absentee ballots at the 3 libraries. We have, some staffing challenges for that, because we're not only staffing advanced voting locations, we're staffing libraries that are not locations for voting for dropping off ballots. I would like to continue that. I think that the board is in favor of that as far as talking to most of you. I'm just not sure yet until we get a little bit closer to what that looks like. The people that ran that program are not here anymore. And so I'd have to start a little bit from scratch.
Great. Well, I feel like I would like to explore that and see if there's ways to continue, if there's something I can do to help with that. I definitely liked that. I thought it was positive feedback. I did visit those locations, and I thought that was a really good alternative. People really liked handing their ballot to a person, and I think it worked well.
Yes, I agree. So what else can I answer for you?
So Janine, you said you were going to send out an email with a summary of the early voting locations and
Yes.
feedback on that? Okay.
Well, thank you. Go ahead, Jessica.
Are we moving now into the board member comments, or?
Yeah, I was going to first and foremost thank Janine for, obviously being diligent and getting out in front of this to try to ensure that we've identified the locations. And if no one had anything further, we could then move into board comment. Janine, I presume, does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone have anything further for Janine? Okay. And yes, Jessica, now we're moving into board comment. Go right ahead.
Well, first, I would like to thank Janine for identifying those positions that need to be filled. And I hope that we are adequately thanking those folks that have left us already and that will be leaving us. And we know that they're leaving us in capable hands. I know this is quite a task for Janine to fill those seats, especially in such a busy year that's coming up. But I just want to personally say thank you, because many of them I did know over the years that I've been on the board. We have received, I believe all of the board members have received correspondence from voters that referenced our Secretary of State's announced investigation of the 2020 election. And I would like, if possible, for you to share what you can, Janine, with us today about because I'm not sure that everyone is familiar or has seen and I don't know how much we have to share.
Yeah, it would seem as though that investigation was announced last week, and I don't know that any specific counties were referenced. I've done my diligence in as much as one can from a public standpoint, because obviously the only information absent the Secretary of State contacting us directly, and I defer to Ms. Evler as to whether they have contacted us directly. as well as to our counsel with regard to him advising on what statements can or cannot be made, as this is a current investigation that is underway. But based upon my review of publicly available information, there have been subtle references in media reports with respect to Fulton County. I don't believe that I've seen any references with respect to Cobb County. And so while I believe that we, as we always are, should be forthcoming and transparent, I also don't know that we should make any presumptions at this time. So, but at this point, Ms. Evler, please, if you'll respond to Jessica's comment.
Yes, I just wanted to know what could be shared or what we have.
Understood.
Are you referring to the investigation related to ballot harvesting?
I myself have not read.
That's the only investigation that's presently
Right.
that has been publicly announced by the Secretary of State. I believe it was either on the January the 3rd or January 4th with respect to ballot harvesting. Yes.
Right. Okay.
That's what we were contacted about, put it that way. There were a number of, there's, just in full transparency, a number of emails, messages have been sent to members of the board. In one instance, all of us were copied. In one instance, I believe the sender sent individual messages. And it was referencing that investigation.
Okay, I was not sure that it was that specifically, or whether there was something that was more general and more broad.
Okay, so what I know about that is that a group came, and it may be a reporter or a reporter group, had done some investigation and used some cell phone GIS data to imply that there were multiple trips to a Dropbox, multiple Dropboxes by multiple people who they inferred were ballot harvesting and dropping off many people's ballots. So the GBI did some investigations. They looked through the Dropbox video, because at that time we had video on the Dropboxes. And this was in reference to the November 2020 election. And the videos were not conclusive. They couldn't identify people. They couldn't identify that there were some kind of harvesting going on. The GBI had difficulty making any determination based on GIS data that inferred somebody was doing something wrong based on the fact that they were in the vicinity of a Dropbox. So the group had also some testimony that they had obtained from what would be a first person witness who said he had been paid to be a harvester. And so the GBI was trying to get them to, well, tell us this person's name and all the information you have. And the group was not forthcoming with that for whatever reason. So it was determined that the Secretary of State, or the State Election Board, rather, because they have the authority, would start an investigation and use their subpoena powers to force them to reveal this person's identity. Because the GBI has to do apparently many more hoops to go through a local DA to get a subpoena. It was easier to use the State Election Board subpoena powers to obtain that information. So that is what I know about that situation, that it's not anything about any particular county. It is trying to get information that a group that's making an accusation is somehow not willing to provide.
Okay, so that was not Cobb specific, and it was not statewide necessarily.
That's my understanding, but again, it's not anything that I had one conversation with somebody in the Secretary's office, and that's the information that I obtained.
Okay, thank you.
Are there additional comments from board members?
Not from me, Tori.
Okay. And it's not noted on the agenda, but I presume, and I know our counsel is there in the room with you, Ms. Evler, there's no need for executive session at this point, correct?
He's shaking his head.
No.
Great, thank you. With that, we will note that our next scheduled board meeting will be held on February the 14th at 3 p.m. to the extent that it's necessary to hold that meeting via WebEx or hold it virtually. The appropriate notice will take place via our website. And unless the committee has anything further, I'll note that the meeting is adjourned at 4:08 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Have a good day.
Oh.